A family lives underground to protect themselves from a deadly virus. A city becomes infected and they have to evacuate. But how long can they survive there? At the beginning of the film, there is a girl named Zoe and her mother in a very dark room. Only the kerosene lamp is their light. Zoe and her mother, Claire, have been in the underground room for 301 days. Holding her favorite doll, Zoe looks scared. In addition to her mother, Zoe is also with her father, Ray. This family survives in the underground room. While there, Zoe often has nightmares, so Claire and Ray always make her comfortable and calm. There is not much they can do there. Sometimes, Zoe checks the chain holding the entrance door to make sure the door is tightly closed and no one can open it from the outside. They have been in the underground room for 301 days. Zoe sometimes wants to see the outside world, but Claire doesn't allow it because it's dangerous. Their food supply is also the same. Canned food is the only thing that can make them survive. While their drinking water uses rusty pipes connected from the surface, although it takes quite a lot of effort to get the water out, but it is worth it for them to survive. When they were going to eat, Zoe saw their food cans were full of holes and empty. At first, Claire and Ray did not believe that someone could steal their food. But it turned out they were wrong. Rats turned out to be another problem for them. Many of their canned foods were eaten by rats, and they had to be more frugal in order to survive. On the other hand, Zoe was bored with the food she ate. There was no other way. Of course, there was no other way than canned food. Claire and Ray tried to distract Zoe and sometimes gave her wise advice. Most importantly, they should not be too angry and upset. Self-control is one of the main things to survive. Although there is not much they can do, Zoe and Ray still have other games, enough to make Zoe happy and entertained. Hundreds of days they were there. Claire was increasingly worried about their condition. Their weight slowly decreased. Moreover, they have to save the remaining food. Ray wants to find other food by going to the surface, but Claire refuses because it is the same as committing suicide. In addition to the game, Zoe is also sometimes asked by Claire to see the situation above using a periscope. That way, she can see whether it is safe outside or not. It seems like there is nothing up there. Maybe they are the only ones left in the city. Then, not long after, Claire and Zoe saw something moving in a pile of food cans. It turned out to be a rat that stole their food. Claire woke Ray up to hunt the rat. It seemed that Ray had difficulty hunting it, but luckily, Claire was able to stop it before the rat escaped. When Ray tried to stop the rat, he accidentally dropped a kerosene lamp on the table. The fire from the lamp began to spread and burn the table. Ray couldn't put it out until the fire burned their table down. Unfortunately, this will be a big problem for them. The smoke from the table fire came out through the door to the surface. Claire hopes no one sees the smoke. The smoke reminds Claire of when the city was still safe and comfortable, a comfortable atmosphere, and a happy family. But suddenly, Claire and Ray saw their neighbors hurrying away as they wanted to leave the city. What happened? Their neighbors didn't have much time to explain, but they asked Ray and Claire to leave the city immediately because the government said that the virus had spread. What virus and when did it happen? Their other neighbors also left their respective homes. Ray tried to see the situation on the surface using a periscope. It seemed fine and safe. They hoped no one saw the smoke from their location. Seeing that the conditions outside seemed safe, Ray and Claire decided to go out and look for pieces of goods that might be used, while Zoe stayed below. Zoe tried to see her father and mother from the periscope. Then she saw something moving in the distance. Zoe shouted to warn them, but it was not heard. Zoe dared to go up to look for her father and mother. Zoe told them that something was coming towards them, but it turned out to be just a herd of deer running. But it seemed like the deer were running scared away from something. Claire was sure that this would definitely be another problem. They rushed back underground to take shelter. And sure enough, when they were inside, they heard footsteps, whether human or animal, but it seemed human. Zoe was immediately scared and cried. Ray tried to calm her down so that their presence would not be known. Ray said many times to control emotions, because that was the key to survival at this time. Then they heard the sound of the main door, as if someone was breaking it down. The door was still locked using several chains. As much as possible, they had to be quiet and not make a sound. But the Zoe doll's vocal cord accidentally got caught on the pipe bolt. The doll made a sound until Ray had to dismantle and destroy the speaker inside the doll. Because of that incident, their whereabouts were finally discovered. The main door and the chain were unable to withstand the rage of something. The rage suddenly stopped because it seemed like the door was too difficult to penetrate. But inside the room it vibrated. What would happen? The vibration made them remember when they tried to leave the city. When on the way they saw many cars returning. What happened? Is the situation safe? But it turned out not. The government asked them to return to their respective homes. Although there were still many of them who still wanted to leave the city, then Ray, Zoe, and Claire felt vibrations from the top of the hill. Where did it come from? In the end, the main door of the basement was penetrated, and several eyes were seen glowing, wanting to catch them. Ray asked Claire and Zoe to escape inside, as much as they could survive. Zoe then remembered that they could get out through the narrow gap. Zoe and Claire could get through it, but Ray had difficulty because the gap was too narrow for him. Even though Ray had broken one of his shoulders, but his leg was pulled by something. Ray asked Claire and Zoe to go away and leave him. Claire and Zoe arrived at the location, where cars were not allowed to pass. Then from above, they were caught by a helicopter. A few moments later, something appeared, which turned out to be humans. They were government orders who were still looking for infected people. So it turned out that the government made them return to the city to be destroyed along with the virus. Luckily, Ray and his family did not do that. Chaos ensued until Claire invited Ray and Zoe to take shelter at a school on the hill. The school had an underground room designed to withstand bomb attacks. That's why they were able to get there. Unfortunately, the virus turned out to spread through the air, and they had been infected. The only way for them not to change is by controlling their emotions, if their emotions will turn into vicious creatures. That's why Ray and Claire asked Zoe to control her emotions. At that time, Claire and Zoe were going to be killed by the government, but Ray appeared in a condition that had turned into a vicious zombie. Ray went berserk and was shot by them. Then Claire was upset and turned into a zombie. While Zoe hid in the pile of cars, Zoe couldn't see her mother being hurt by them, so she also changed and helped her mother. Zoe managed to open the soldier's mask until the soldier was infected. Zoe and Claire tried to go to Ray, who was still alive, but unfortunately, he wouldn't last long. For the second time, Zoe and Claire had to leave Ray. Zoe and Claire entered the tunnel, then someone came. It turned out to be their neighbor's child named Joey. So far, Joey and the others have never left the city. They are in hiding just like Zoe and her family did. Zoe and Claire lost Ray, but now they are together with the others, surviving for the next few hundred days.